Ladies and gentlemen, this is Colin Dawson. Just saying, if you like some of my things, like and subscribe. No one's supposed to be pushing that or saying it, even for myself out there. Um, I'm just watching here, watched the game, fell asleep. Uh, you know, my grandmothers would be all taking me over with certain things at certain times or anything else out there with it. And I know I'm probably going to get kicked around for something else, but that's beside the point. Um, Looking at things here, and I'm not going to be trying to say anything other than a general situation that should be looked at as all encompassing. We used to be one of the most highly feared warrior groups on the face of the planet. We may have technology and everything people still will not understand because we've just been getting rid of our old ordnance, making room for the new stuff. Fighting wars like Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam, Korea. Maybe not so much at Korea, but a lot of the situations that we've been in. I know for a fact we are very much more industrialized and beyond anything one could think about for weapons. I am not trying to say that I'm insider working on the line or anything else, but in watching football, granted I fell asleep with my dad here as soon as I got home, and I was like, I'm going to be here and I'm going to do 9 hours of all the YouTube little books or anything else, the notes that I have for YouTube. I'm just going to do 9 hours of binging of YouTube and chop it all up onto different channels and make my movie channel and everything else today. Well, I guess sleep caught up with me. It always seems to catch up with me on that first day, and I'm going to get back where I can do that. Whatever you want to say. But I was watching the LSU Florida game. And this is one of those things that I've listened to war criminals cheer over here. And this is why I cannot stand the war criminal population. Now, don't give me anything about Mexicans. Don't give me anything about the black guy who came over that they did the movie for. And I'm sorry for saying the black guy, but I do not remember his name. I can remember some faces of some Germans that have gone extinct here. I can remember the faces of some other peoples out there that they were with the USA. He came over and he immigrated and he was with the USA. And he had a movie made about him, the movie Concussion. And yeah, I was watching a football game. And they said for LSU, this is the first time since World War II that they started a true freshman. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say that's the talent that these young men, these supermen of society, put through the grinder in every way out there. And the only thing that I can think of is Pat Tillman. You cannot have someone like him and so many others that are patriots to the end for this country. For whatever it is, good, bad, maybe there were some political deals that were fast and loose with some political companies or something else like that people talk about or something else. But that's something that always comes up, and we talk about that so we can put an end to it. You cannot have that many people following in the footsteps of a very celebritized person and go into battle. For every Pat Tillman, there is at least 15,000 young men and women that will be right behind them. For every one of the Dallas cheerleaders and others that said that they were not going to do that and going to go into the military, even if they were going to be cookie baking nurses and not on the front lines like G.I. Jane. For every G.I. Jane movie, there is at least 25 to 50,000 young men and women that will go in there. And, whether it's not what they expected, not what they wanted, you need to understand in all ways, in everything out there, you will be losing a vast majority of them. That through some way, shape, form, or another, just like Saigon City and a couple of the coastal towns, where people were on leave and they showed up and they just chain gunned them. They drove by in a speedboat. They had speedboat things, parasailing out there, everything else. And then, they don't talk about it. It's classified out of all get out. They're over there with their Korean wife, and they have 15 buddies there, and somebody knows how to hook up a battery they stole out of a Jeep to a mortar round back in the day. For whatever reason they went over there for it, you have to look at the simple fact that in taking away from the gene pool, you're taking away something there. Now, everybody's going to say original lineage, immigrant lineage, it's something else there. Well, immigrants are nice to this country. They make a new flourishing section, a new rose on the same bush, or whatever you're going to say over it. And maybe they pollinate and come together, and the seeds go down, and it gets a thicker hedge of whatever it is, and leads to other different types of colors of bushes or anything else. And, color is like the essence of weaponized racism, because nobody's going to believe that it's just a comedy's cult from this one area. What you see is what you get from another one, and everything else on down the line. And over here, it's just like the situation with a national religion. It's just classification until they can force everybody together, and either they're all the French fry or else they're dead, since there's genetics involved in this. You just can't keep looking at people and going, the gene pool's depleted. Everything is depleted. There's going to be some other time. There's going to be a rest time. There's going to be a hippie movement and everything else. And I'm just going, how many people got pregnant at Woodstock or were born? How many people died? One person died. One baby was born. I'm sure somebody's going to say, months later there was this. Months later there was that. Months later, just look at it as that. We cannot continually live and have our people, whether they be doctors or some other group trying to pay off their student loans to anyone else, die in constant wars that have no clear, decisive victory other than it's part of the battles. It's part of the battles. We have to lose this battle to continue World War II. We have to do whatever it is to continue this. And at the end of the day, while they say we won against the Japanese, they'll say with Al-Qaeda, we lost against the Japanese. Because it was one of their groups. And that's why we never went into the interior of Asia with China. This is the same way with when we pulled out of Sardinia in 1985, and Knoxville basically burned to the ground, and they covered it up. That's why they re-released the movie 1985, when basically the desert Southwest was burning. And again, we have another cycle going up there to the big cities to make their scores, using the last bits of their money that's so old they can't trace it to anywhere. Gathering up all their other money to come here. Again, somewhere in the South. Granted, there's been a lot of talk about the swamps and the swamp people, and, them Appalachian Hill Country people, they just ain't worth nothing no more. They'll be down to the swamps, then the high lonesomes, and out throughout the most desolate plains of America, where they've had hundreds and hundreds of people coming in because they're city slicker hucksters that say, I know I can live like that. Well, you can push anything for 5 years. You can push anything out there, and you can work just as hard and make just as many discoveries as Elon Musk. The only problem is, or Bietos. The only problem is you're only going to be able to do it for like 5 years. A lot of people can do football in college. They'll come back and say against me for 5 years. And I just look at them and be like, yeah, they did a whole lot. I'm sure the research papers, everything they're involved with, will go to a great cause. There'll be some sort of patent that the state will make money off of. They won't see a dime from it. I'm used to that in Tennessee. It's how the budget's always balanced here. It's by kids turning in their research papers, not doing them a year ahead in advance or two, and not having them copyrighted. Heck, even the teachers will steal everything that's not nailed down, and you just have to go with it. And then they'll turn around and Xerox it and copyright it and send it in before it even gets sent back to the whatever it is, Nashville. Now, you just need to understand here that this whole thing with covering up private security, for $5 more, they die, and no one knows about it. You can even say, well, we announced those changes to whatever it was with figures and private contractors and scientists, just like when we went into Algiers and things, and then let the main army take over and all this other stuff. And you just need to listen. So you see, I can talk like this, and you won't see my mouth move properly, but you can understand it because I'm a politician. Seriously, all the hatred to all the political situations is the deaths of private security that you have covered up. And just go, see now, ditz, party animal. I've never been in and been close to whatever it is and been up there. I only eat fast food and I got too much cholesterol in my brain. I fainted on a pork rind and it took too much oxygen for me to get to the brain out. If understand anything else after that? I go back further, but they're like, you can't talk about the dead. We have a separate set of laws, and once we're president and make it all the way through for 4 years, we have complete blanketed immunity amongst our family or any descendants of our family, and we're the only ones that can be allowed to know how to talk properly in society. First freshman since World War II. I'm sorry, a freshman quarterback should not be out there. I don't care how much you say that they did 4 great years of whatever it is. There's no reason that there should be a freshman quarterback out there. And you can be like, it's just a dissolving blob across the entire USA, burning it like a piece of paper that doesn't have a flame, and you just watch that red line go back across it and everything. Or the leaves in a fire or something else. And then it leaves behind like the infrastructural highways and everything else for someone to come in and take over. And I know that I'm the ugliest guy in the world to be telling anybody this, and I should look like something that Lex Luthor pulled out of a whatever. Anyway, do me a favor here and, like and subscribe, or else just get involved and start digging through some stuff like real investigative reporters should do. Instead of thinking that they're the political part that decides any part of an election and say they're calling the election when the election can only be called by the Electoral College after they've gone through, recertified all the votes, and made sure that all the votes count. There wasn't a foreign national interference. Like always, they're supposed to do that. Now, I have some things made up, but I'm not going to do them tonight. And I'll try to be doing them tomorrow and the next day. Irregardless of anything, but just in looking at this, there's not really a reason we should have freshmen being started in football. I know there are a lot. We should have more depth. But you can't have people who can do a physical situation of athleticism that they say is one of the 3 combat forms: football, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling in war because of how much hand-to-hand trench warfare combat we've actually done in this last war. You just need to learn that there is such a thing as you just can't expect people to immigrate into this country, have kids, and have a reason to lay down and die for whatever it is, and even have something from the original beginnings of it. Do I think that every single country should be limited on immigration coming in by percentage capita of them? Probably yes. Should I sit there and say that for 15 to 18 years, generally when you would graduate high school, that we should do that just to be like, you're going to have to force everybody to hire people locally, do stuff with people locally or interior USA. That includes Alaska. Would that be crazy? People wouldn't do that because they're like, they can't stand their neighbors and they'd all shoot them. And then they'd be like, we have to go back to an honor warrior situation with 6-shooters and stuff. Anyway, there's some food for thought. I know I should go off on Antifa, Black Lives Matter, something else out there, but this is the real major issue. One can always go on about who's really in there, who's really whatever. 6 months later after you go public, if you're not infiltrated by a bunch of foreign national situations or even just old spies from wherever it is going, we're going to remake our own country because all of our countries don't exist anymore. Seriously, that is what will happen. Now, I bid you good day, good night. Hope everybody gets up for their shifts. And, taxman comes automatically now. Have a wonderful life. Colin Dawson. Like and subscribe.